Saul and Battery, hosted by
Jeans
and Kelly. Forget what you know. Forget what you know. A Saul and Battery.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to A Saul and Battery. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm Jeans, and that's YEUNGJANS on Instagram and Twitter. It's a little fast, but it's okay.
Yep, and I've got to look here again. The episode, so this is season 4, episode 5. Quite a ride, which indeed there was quite a ride in this episode, a couple of them. So that was pretty interesting. So let's just get right to it. I'll knock off the 30-second recap, and then we can commence to talking about the episode proper. So we get treated to a flashback and get to see Francesca in her passive-aggressive action. Jimmy becomes a privacy baron, and we discover what Gus's big ask is. And we all learn that we need Kim Wexler as our lawyer. Well, unless we're a bank. And Jimmy has ups and downs with his relationships with Pee-wee, Scooter, and Skippy. And Jimmy flushes any idea of seeing a shrink. There you go. So thanks for listening, everybody. So
Right. All right. So you want to start because technically it's a flash forward.
Yeah.
So,
well,
start
not technically, just absolutely it is a flash forward.
Flashback. So I just
flashback to Breaking Bad, which aired before. But yeah, flash forward. Darn it. I'm not going to redo it. Yes, technically a flash forward.
Okay.
So it was great to see Saul's office again in all its glory, and Saul in all his glory, and Francesca in all her glory.
Yeah, that poor woman. The amount of crap she must have to deal with. I mean, she's shredding things for I don't even want to know what. And then he's so stingy with the money, which I don't understand.
Well,
like,
I don't know how
for you or not. Like, know.
I don't know how much was in that first roll though. He may not have been being particularly stingy. She may have had him over a barrel.
He had 2 suitcases full of rolls, money.
Yeah.
He gives her 2, and he almost just gave her the one. Do you want this woman to to really cover for you, or do you want the bare minimum? Because I feel like with the amount of money you're trying to escape with, and the situation that you're in, that you're trashing your office and shredding every document that's in it, you probably want to give her a little money to make sure that you have some security, not just here's a little bit for your trouble. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I just, absent knowing what the denomination was within the role, certainly it's a small percentage of what he had, but it still could have been I don't know how much it was, but he probably tried to lowball her, and so she took care of that without a doubt. And sure enough, there was something behind the Constitution. We always wondered, and so. Yes, indeed, there was a little treasure back there. It's like National Treasure, like a movie almost.
Yeah, right.
And then there's a very interesting thing, and this has been something people have talked a lot about, which was Jimmy's kind of connecting Francesca to some sort of legal help. He tells her to say Jimmy sent her, and there's this predefined time, which the date actually is, and I don't know, this wasn't revealed in the show. I don't know where I picked up on it, but that's actually Jimmy's birthday, the date that they give. And at 3 o'clock, there's going to be a call sharp. Jimmy's absolutely sure of it. So there's a lot of theories out there who that call might be from. So Jimmy's connecting her to a lawyer. It's a lawyer that's going to call Jimmy on his birthday at 3 p.m. Your thoughts?
I don't. I sped through this whole universe so quickly between, and I bounced back and forth. I went to seasons 1 through 4, Better Call Saul, and then I went Breaking Bad, and then I went season 5. So it's muddy for me. So that it's one of the reasons I'm so happy that like we sit down and we watch the episode right before we do this, because it's very blurry for me, and because I did it in, I want to say it was like inside of 2 weeks. I sat down and
So
watched all
pretty short period of time.
Oh, yeah, it was quarantine viewing all the way, man.
Well, I mean, so the prevailing wisdom out there is it's Kim.
Well, that would make sense.
That would make knowing the birthday and all those types of things. I can't imagine it's Howard. And so it has to be somebody from this universe because it's tell him Jimmy sent you. So
right. Although you have to wonder, like, because when he's in that office, he's a completely different person than he is in, Better Call Saul thus far. And a bit of a misogynist and just way shadier than
I mean, I'm with childish, crook, whatever. Do you really? To me, he becomes misogynist when he's Saul. He's not that.
Right in this office though. That's what
I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. No argument there.
So you have to wonder if it's Kim or not, just because there's such a departure in his personality. It's kind of, you have to wonder if she's even still around, because he's joking about like, buying brides, and he's making cracks at Francesca about sex and stuff like that, which is, whatever. I'm not even getting into that. I'm just saying it's a complete departure from how polite and sort of, professional he is with Francesca, in the dentist office. And so this is something completely different. And so if Kim is still around, that's kind of shocking to some degree.
Yeah, and she may be around for one call a year, so maybe that's the extent. Because you got to figure there is some, you're assuming since we didn't get a hint of Kim in Breaking Bad, that there's a significant separation that's occurred. Either she's not around anymore, or you get a little hopeful with this call thing that she is around. She's just far away from Jimmy, which is a possibility too. So looking forward to learning a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've pondered building a large drug factory underground at some time. And
I have pondered where you get the black burlap terrorist masks. Really, that's what I want to know. The bag that goes over your head. Where do these come from? Because it's burlap and it's gross.
Yeah, and I don't believe I've ever seen black burlap that I beyond as a hood in a movie or a TV show. So
it's got to be like a wholesaler somewhere. I don't know, Amazon.
Yeah. I'm gonna do an Amazon search for black burlap hood after the show and see what comes up.
Outside your house afterwards.
Yeah, that would be maybe a problem. But so quite the Mike's typical Mike, and just this kind of dry delivery of things. And do you need to relieve yourself? It's a long ride. I suggest you do, and suit yourself and all that. And
it's like a match label. It's like he said that because he's dealt with it.
Yeah. So he's familiar. And but they have quite the setup going where, and I had kind of forgotten the scene where the guy's looking for. There's this parade of similarly styled gray sedans, and eventually he finds the right one. And so there's like a rental car and a stop in the middle of nowhere, and the burlap black hood and a van, and it all eventually takes them back to your viewing pattern. What was a reminder to all of us, or an Easter egg for all of us, is the second he steps in there, it's the super lab, it's the laundromat above the super lab. If you'd kind of gone Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, but for you, probably the very first time you just said, "Oh, they're in a laundromat." Where I went, they're in the laundromat. So I was all excited. But
I backed into that. So I was just like, okay, they're gonna build something under a giant washing machine. That's interesting.
And yeah, the first. So why do you think they dismissed the first guy so quick?
I think because they had the geologist report. It was very thorough, and I think they were. I think Fring is a realist, and I don't think he appreciates anybody coming off too cocky. And that guy was like, we don't need to blast and it'll be fine. Not, I've done this. And I don't think that's really what Fring wants. Fring does not want indiscretion. And so that was an indiscreet moment. It was a bragging moment. And I don't see Fring, who wants to keep this a secret, working with anybody who's going to mention to anyone that he has built a hole under an existing structure, let alone what the end state of what that hole should be, because there's a lot to it. It's not just a basement. It's not just a pool. It's got a very specific ventilation system. It's got, it's got a lot going on. And so I think he was a little too cocky for Frank.
And I think dropping what he did, by the way, here's part of my portfolio, another illegal venture that he did. Gus has zero interest in having him join his, future pitches for jobs to say, oh yeah, I built Gus Fring a super lab underneath the laundromat. I don't think he'd be much appreciative of that.
Exactly.
So we get Jimmy back at CC Mobile, bored initially, and then gets his first customer. You have anything to say about the first customer, Jeans, or just
no?
Okay, good. Just checking.
We watched.
He looks shifty, right? So
we'll go with shifty. Yeah,
he's shifty. We'll go with shifty. But Jimmy does his usual great job at being very convincing and compelling. Although obviously you've got to be somewhat gullible to fall underneath all of Jimmy's spell, but he is kind of persuasive. And he plays the whole scarcity game on, oh, well, I'd like to sell it to you, but I can't. And so the guy walks out with all of them. Yeah. And so I think he's kind of finding that middle ground between actually working at a cell phone store and being Slip and Jimmy, kind of melding the two into one dream job for him, I guess.
I think that's where he gets the taste to go out the following night. Yeah.
We get to see Kim in action. Boy, she's good. She is like no nonsense. I mean, and it's not like a mean no nonsense. It's just no nonsense. It's he's like, you're not leaving with that tie. That tie's mine. Give it to me. And it's just, and it's not mean and it's not negative, but it's just, this is what you're gonna do.
Well, and Bill Oakley, the public defender, if I have that right.
Yep, you do.
He's just no match. Him and his labradoodle dream. They are no match for her. And he really, he has a very specific idea of how much time he wants her new client to be in jail for. She's just not having it, and she's willing to bust him on. I don't know the exact particulars of the evidence situation, but something wasn't quite right, and she was willing to blow it wide open in front of the judge in order to get her client off. And I just think little Oakley was just no match for her. She's too good.
No, I think he's just a utility infielder. He just goes out there, does his job, eats his chips for lunch. I do gain renewed respect for him that he's got a labradoodle breeding dream. That's good.
Right? I know.
Guy always whips out some sort of quirky, funny thing and anything. He's always worth a laugh or two. So he's pretty fun. But man, she cleans house in a big way and does a great job in prepping her client. Does a great job in guiding her client after he gets off, which is probation. That he's, I don't know if he'll stick or not, but she seemed to get his attention.
It's the Gila monster thing again. She really sort of, there's no messing with her. She's business, and she without being mean, without being manipulative, or she'll just scare the pants right off you.
Yep. She's
good at it.
She's very good at it, and and so she's the best. I think she's the best lawyer we've seen in this universe. Everybody on there. give Jimmy style points, but in terms of if you want a lawyer, Kim's the one to go with, because if she's behind, if she's interested in your case, if you're the bank, you might have a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And she's on probably some thin ice with them a little bit, because she did blow them off on something where they needed, but it's going to continue to be a problem, because the people that she's helping are notoriously unreliable. They're going to be, you're not going to be able to count on them. Being in there at wonder what she had to do to kind of fish that girl out and get her there to the type of thing. So we'll have to see how it all kind of works
Her
out.
second client wasn't even going to show up in court, and she went out to get her, and then ended up having to blow off Mesa Verde for that. So
Not good.
not good, but it really, again, this is, we kind of talked about this a little bit. She wants to argue, she wants to win, she doesn't want to file paperwork. It's not interesting to her. The initial I have a multi-million-dollar client situation has worn off.
Yeah, and it was all about winning that client, not the actual work for the client. Like, oh, good, bank filings, not her thing. But she's very thorough and very good at that too. But it's obviously not where her passion lies. So.
Yeah, I think that's more of a Howard situation. I think Howard likes to file paperwork. He looked like such a train wreck.
Oh, he did not look good.
He's not ready for court. He was.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought of. And he does mention insomnia, and he's clearly struggling, and he's seeing a therapist twice a week, and that's really all he's willing to say to Jimmy. Jimmy does seem genuinely concerned, but I really felt like a good portion of that was having to talk and argue in front of a judge. I just don't think he's that kind of a lawyer. I don't think he's got those types of skills. He's nothing that he's ever said has really been that terribly convincing. And, all the lawyers so far, including Chuck, have been just sort of, very manipulative and very good at getting you to see their side of things. And he just doesn't really do that at all. He's not, there's not a lot of charisma there in winning the argument with him, I think. So I feel like he's more of a filing a paperwork for Mesa Verde sort of lawyer.
He's a more golf with the client guy.
That is true. That is very, he's more the salesman.
He's just, how you doing? And all that type of thing, which I think, you go with your strengths.
Having lunch. Yeah.
And so then we get to meet Scooter, Pee-wee, and Skippy, who originally think Jimmy is a narc. And
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. No, I was going to say, I have to say, it's very interesting watching Jimmy work. So he goes in at night and gets a slew of these cell phones, and then he's going to go out and he's going to sell them. And he gets rid of, he walks out with a substantial box of cell phones, and then goes and talks to every single criminal he can get his hands on to sell them an untraceable cell phone. And he does manage to and it's interesting to watch him work. He's very charismatic. He's very, we kind of saw a little bit with the guy in the beginning at the actual CC Mobile store. He uses a lot of metaphors, one after another, after another, after another. He's very good at making you picture things. And so he was really good at this sales job of just slinging cell phones. And obviously not in the store, but, out in front of the doghouse buying hot dogs and cell phones.
Yeah, another Easter egg back to the doghouse. A lot of interesting things have happened there. So.
Right. Yeah, and so he runs across these three little punks.
Yeah. So I felt in this episode, Jimmy, bad things were going to happen to Jimmy, but I also really felt it was going to be the bikers. He'd had a good night. He had done all that selling you were talking about. He'd done a bunch, and he had gotten in his car, and it's like, okay, this is a rough crew. Think I'm going to go. And then you see him stop for a second and go.
Especially because when the bikers pull up, everybody vacates. Yeah. They're like, they have all these picnic tables outside in front, and all the picnic tables are loaded, and there's people sitting around eating fries and hot dogs all over the place. The bikers pull up and everybody goes. It's just like, rats off a sinking ship. All this is let's out. And then he decides he's going to stay, and it does look like he could have his ass handed to him. And as it turns out, he did, just by a trio of high schoolers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Do you think it's just he wants to continue to prove to himself he can do this? Because I don't know why you would go. Obviously, this is a bad group of folks, and the odds of you not getting your ass kicked is low. I mean, it's going to probably happen. It's gonna, it's gonna probably happen. And so why put, if you've had a good, I don't know why you go back for more beyond. It's just, I guess the thrill of it.
I think that he's got a lot of that. I mean, we see him kind of make risky choices quite a bit. I think he kind of gets off on being able to, get out of a situation unscathed. And I mean, and he did it for the bikers. It was after the bikers left, and it is bankroll taken from him, like lunch money.
Yes, yes, they did.
But I think you're right. I think he likes that danger. I think he's a little bit of an adrenaline junkie in that way.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's not the long game kind of approach to take.
No.
And then so the shrink came up again initially because it seems as if anytime Jimmy wants to deflect, if Kim's getting too close to him having to kind of come to terms with something or talk about something he doesn't want to talk to her about, he finds a way to deflect. And in this case, earlier in the show, she's kind of digging in a little further on, so what went on and why aren't you going to the police? And after he got rolled by the high schoolers, and he goes, well, this is how I'll shut her up. Yeah, I'm thinking about going to see the shrink. It just takes her completely off of that track.
But then, I also think, I was going to say, but I also think to some degree he realizes that this was a very bad choice. I think having his ass handed to him by 3 kids, which he kind of does bring that up to where he's sort of like, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
I think he realizes that this was not a good life choice to have made, and that, his life with her is important. And I think he really does for a minute just be like, what is wrong with me? Yeah. Like, seriously, what was that about? I think he sort of even recognizes that to a certain degree. It's not for very long. No. Don't be wrong. It's not like he's, full of growth all of a sudden. I think he has a moment of regret. And I think for a minute, he thinks he's actually going to call the therapist. And I think it's partial placating, but also for a moment, he's just like, I just had my ass handed to me by 3 high school kids, Huey, Scooter, and what was the other? Skippy,
yeah. It was the pure Saul moment. That was just super cool. Enjoyed it.
I'm just too old for this, and I think he recognizes that for a moment, that this is, this is one of those moments that you pivot on, and
Yeah, it was interesting. So, do you think? I'll go with you. I'll buy into that. He actually thought through things and go, this is crazy for me to be doing this. Maybe I need some help. Right. Give this guy a shot. Right. Do you think he had maintained that point of view up until he talked to Howard and saw the condition Howard was in after seeing a shrink twice a week, and then that's when he said, that's out?
And I think 1:30 in the morning after you are bloodied and bruised and your girlfriend's taking care of you in your bathroom, you're probably second guessing your life choices at that point. Later in the day, when you see Howard Hamlin, who's vomiting in the sink practically, and just sort of, I see somebody twice a week. I have insomnia like this. I think you're like, you know what? I'm good. If this is what happens to you on a shrink, I'm all right.
Fair enough. Yep, and that's. And so then he goes and meets with his lawyer probation officer, PPD.
Yes.
And going through just kind of some questions, and very kind of matter-of-factly, Jimmy's not joshing around or anything. He's just answering questions and gets kind of to the tail end. And you feel like this is kind of coming from his soul and his heart, where he's like, I'm going to, or that he's just going to prove people wrong, but he's like, I'm going to get my license. My partner and I are going to get a better office. It's going to be bigger and better. And he seems absolutely convinced that that's where he's headed.
Yeah.
Which is a nice path.
It is. And I think that's also part of him going like, I don't need a therapist. I'm going to get my life on track. I still think he's kind of got part of that mindset going on. It's just that he's not going to address it the way that she wants him to.
I'm just glad he didn't finish the conversation with the PPD guy. I'm going to have a big inflatable Statue of Liberty, and we're going to play Mutsack versions of God Bless America in my office. It'll be amazing. But
Poor Francesca, man. Just that poor woman.
yeah, reading her travel magazines. So
Oh my God.
well, that was a fun one, and we got we did meet when we talked a little bit about the construction folks. So we got to meet Werner Ziegler, and he seems like a pretty charming character, very kind of quirky. Doesn't travel well apparently, but
I'm a
uh,
being. And
I think we'll probably be seeing a little more of him there. But he appears to be he got an audience with Gus during his first interview, so it seems pretty promising for him, I'd say.
he did. I think he really, I think he spoke to all of the problems that were possible. It was a very well thought out, someone who can very clearly see a bigger picture. Not just I'll do this and I'll figure it out, but he was talking about how they were going to have to go about it and the various problems that they had come across. And I think that's kind of a little more what Fring's been looking for, because it is such a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it is. It's not easy to build a super lab underneath a laundromat. So
yeah, an existing structure with giant machines, those things have got to weigh tons.
You would think.
Those amazingly huge. I just wow. Cool. So yeah.
Any other parting thoughts for this week?
I don't think so. I think that's good. I think my favorite line was just the dream of the labradoodles.
I laughed. I thought it was good. I'll go with having actually Francesca say to Jimmy or Saul at that point, use your words. If there's ever a person you wouldn't think you need to say that to, it was Saul Goodman.
That's true. That was good. Yeah.
All right. Cool. On that note, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week.